We saw a historic presidential debate between current President Joe Biden, past President Donald Trump play out last week, and we're still discussing the fallout of the debate. Largely, the conversation has been, is President Biden going to continue to run? What did you think of his performance, first of all?
It wasn't surprising. And in fact, I have been saying for well over a year that Joe Biden is suffering from severe dementia. So, what is surprising to me is the reaction of the press, who are now trying to act as though they didn't know that this was the situation. And the reality is that there have been a lot of people who have been working overtime to try to cover up the fact that he is not cognitively all there. All anybody has had to do is look at videos of him from a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. He is an entirely different person. You can tell by his physical appearance. You can tell by his eyes. It appears to me that when he does go into public, they have him on drugs. His eyes are severely dilated. They look very, very strange. You see no color in them at all. They're just these really serious black dots that you can tell by the look on his face, the way he holds his mouth, the way he walks. So I wasn't surprised that he was not capable of having a coherent discussion last Thursday. What I'm surprised about is the number of people who act surprised that they didn't know that.
We talked back in March, and you did question the president's mental fitness there. Before I continue, I just have to say there is no evidence that he is on drugs. But I was speaking with your colleague, Congressman Anthony D'Esposito, yesterday, and I asked him, as a lawmaker, as someone who works closer to the president than the average American, what his thoughts were. And he said, while President Biden does appear sharp at times, that is few and far between. And a lot of the time when observing the president, he is like how he was on Thursday night. Is that something you agree with?
I would agree with that. And what I think that it's telling that yesterday, when his spokesman was asked about whether he was on drugs, the only thing she would say is he's not taking any cold medicine. So she's being very specific in terms of trying to say, well, he wasn't taking cold medicine, which was not the question at all. But from the standpoint of him having lucid moments, I'm not sure that I've seen the lucid moments. I think you even go back to the State of the Union address, and it was an angry man screaming from a podium, almost like your senile neighbor who's screaming, "Get off my lawn." He wasn't well. I mean, anybody with a lick of sense can look at what his physical and mental condition has been like for quite some time. And I am not at all surprised, again, by the way that he performed on Thursday night. He is suffering from dementia. We can see it. We know that. And so I have been asking the question, many people have been asking the question, who is running this country? Who is making the decisions? And I think that that's where we really need to go with these legitimate questions. Who's making the decisions about the open border? Is it Mayorkas? Has Mayorkas gone completely rogue and made the decision about not closing the border? Who's making the decision about Ukraine? What is the issue with Ukraine? And Joe Biden ostensibly just entered into a 10-year contract or agreement with Ukraine to provide security from the United States of America. None of us voted on that. The House didn't vote on that. Whose decision was it for the United States of America to enter into a 10-year security agreement with Ukraine? We know that they're withholding money and resources from Israel, despite the fact that Congress did vote to send that money to Israel. Who's making the decision to withhold that money? These are all very legitimate questions that we should be asking. Who is making the decisions in the White House?
His team says that the word dementia hasn't been used from his team. They are chalking this up to a bad debate night. You clearly think that there's something more. So what